Alright everyone, welcome to the channel. Cowboy Trades here, back with another short form update. So today we're going to be talking about something new. We're going to be following the Qs. Let's talk about it. So this is what I want to share with you. I found a very interesting chart pattern where the Qs, being the Nasdaq, are following the tips. I say the Qs because the QQQ is the largest ETF for the Nasdaq, but in this episode we're simply going to be observing the relationship between the Nasdaq NDQ and the iShares TIP ETF. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the TIP, it stands for Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. So basically, if you buy a TIP, you're buying US government debt. And let's say hypothetically, overnight inflation went up by 25% and the interest rates also went up by 25%. That is how much the TIP ETF would rise, hence its name, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, TIPS. The TIP ETF we're going to be looking at today comes from iShares, who have the most assets under management. So let's dive right into this. What is this pattern that I've noticed that plays out on the tips and the Qs? So diving right into things, I want you to first of all look at the top side of the screen where we're looking at the iShares TIP ETF. What happened when the tips topped out over here? As you can see, tips topped out. When did the QQQs or the Nasdaq top out? It topped out a week later. Let's go over to our next data point. What happened over here? The tips bottomed before rallying. When did the Nasdaq bottom? Well, it bottomed like 3-4 weeks later. What happened after the tips bottomed? Like I said, we went on a nice rally to the upside with this data point. What happened with the tips? Well, the tips didn't actually top out until a couple of weeks later. Let's move on to our next subset of data points from here. We had a massive breakdown. You can see we had a bounce on this week. What did we do over here? Well, it took us another week before we actually had that bounce. We had a bounce for 2 weeks, and as you can see, we had a bounce for about a week here, topping out round about that same time. But with the majority of these data points, what you can see is the lows are choreographed in the TIP ETF before it comes out in the Nasdaq, and we can see this time after time again. I'll go back to previous scenarios, but you can see over here, the TIP ETF topped out before breaking down into new local lows. This is where it gets interesting, my friends. As you can see, once again, let me reiterate that. The TIP topped out over here before coming down and making new lows. The Nasdaq topped out 2 weeks later, but what's it doing now? The Nasdaq is coming back down to its lows, but the Nasdaq has yet to take out its floors. As you can see over here on the Nasdaq, this is where your lows were. Now, if we come over to the TIP ETF, you can see this is where the TIP ETF's lows were. Now, the TIP has actually been breaking down. Let's go on the daily time frame so we can get a more accurate reading of this. And yes, as we can see over here, this looks like it opened down here on Monday, so we would have almost been incorporating another week's worth of data if we didn't zoom in. But as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, less than 2 weeks. We've broken down from this for less than 2 weeks, which is why, you know, even though we've got more than 3 candles down here, we did just want to check that out. But as you can see, we've been trading down here for about 2 or 3 weeks, but the Nasdaq has yet to come down to its lows. So you might be wondering, as a cryptocurrency channel, why am I highlighting that the Nasdaq is breaking down into new lows? Well, it is because Bitcoin is highly correlated to the Nasdaq. Let's overlay them. What do you think's going to happen when we overlay these? What do you think's going to happen when the Nasdaq comes down to make new lows? As you can see, Bitcoin and the Nasdaq are doing the exact same thing. The Nasdaq hasn't yet come down and taken out its lows. It's still struggling around about the last region of support, and Bitcoin is literally doing that exact same thing. We topped out at the same time. We bottomed at the same time. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. You might have not heard this before, but Bitcoin is extremely highly correlated to tech stocks. So when I see the TIP ETF going down and the Nasdaq hasn't yet made that new low, that is indicative to me that we should be making new lows in the next couple of weeks. And considering how I just made a video on my channel highlighting in another video why I think we're going to be making new lows in approximately the next 20 days, I think this is just another beautiful signal. Now, just to wrap up this video, I just want to show you past indications, because you might be looking at this and thinking, well, you know, this is only, I've only been talking about the trend in the past year or so. So let's go back. I understand we want to clarify what happened in the past. So as you can see over here, March 20 capitulation, choreographed right on the bottom, 9th of March 2020. When did the Nasdaq bottom? It bottomed a week later. As you can see over here, during the bear market of 2018. We bottomed on the TIP ETFs on the 5th of November 2018. When did we bottom over on the Nasdaq? We bottomed on the 17th of December. So we bottomed over a month later. Let's go back. Let's see what happened in this 2015 capitulation. As you can see, the lows down here were at the 14th of December 2015. What happened for the TIP ETF? The TIP ETF kept on moving down until the 1st of February. And we can do this all day long. I highly recommend to go check this out yourself. Go check out the previous data points and see how these two move. It's very interesting to see that these follow each other to the teeth. And it's also interesting that no one really talks about this correlation between the TIP ETFs and the Nasdaq. So my friends, that is the purpose of these short form videos, where we can explore different theories, different charts, different perspectives outside of our normal analysis. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This is something that I actually think is very, very interesting, and I am going to keep my eyes on this on the channel. This is not going to be something that I'm just going to talk about once and forget about. This is probably going to become something like a bread and butter in this channel. We're going to talk about this again. So if you do want to hear more about this in the future, if you do want to be prepared for the new lows that are going to be coming in for Bitcoin and the stock market, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. It's all I've got for you today, my friends. Be sure to also join the Discord, links in the description down below. Go check all that good stuff out. But anyway, my friends, I'm signing out. Cowboy out. Peace.